Keep at it, kid. I did. Nights. I'd sit on the trailer steps. June's porch light buzzing with moths and write about the hole inside me. Not big dramatic stuff. Just how the wind sounded that day at the bus stop, or how I wondered if Sarah had Mom's crooked smile. It hurt less on paper, like I could pin it down and let it breathe. 16, I hit a wall. I'd been hauling hay with Hank all summer. My arms scratched and sunburned, muscles aching from the work that never seemed to end. The physical pain was almost a relief compared to what I carried inside. That evening, the weight of all those years crushed down on me like the thunderclouds gathering on the horizon. We were eating supper, the three of us around that worn kitchen table where we'd shared 1,000 meals. The vinyl tablecloth was faded from years of scrubbing, the pattern barely visible anymore. June's meatloaf steamed on my plate, mashed potatoes lumpy but good, green beans from the garden lined up like soldiers. The radio hummed softly in the background, Willie Nelson singing about blue skies. I stared at my food, pushing it around while something inside me unraveled thread by thread. The question that had lived in my bones for 11 years bubbled up unstoppable, and before I could swallow it back, I blurted, "Why didn't they love me?" The words hung in the air like smoke, heavy and acrid. The room went quiet, just the tick of the wall clock counting seconds that stretched into forever. A moth fluttered against the screen door, desperate to reach the kitchen light. Outside, a dog barked in the distance. June set her fork down with a soft clink against the plate, her eyes soft and glistening with tears she was trying to hold back. The lines around her mouth deepened, etched by years of hard work and worry, much of it for me. "Oh, honey," she said, reaching for me across the table, her hand weathered from decades of washing and cooking and mending. Her fingers closed around mine, warm and solid like an anchor. "You're enough." Her voice cracked on the words. She swallowed hard and squeezed my hand tighter. "Always were." Hank cleared his throat, setting down his glass of sweet tea. He wasn't a man of many words, never had been. Emotions made him uncomfortable, like wearing a suit that was too tight. But he looked at me then, really looked at me, his eyes a faded blue that had seen too much sun. "Some folks break what they can't fix, Ethan," he said, voice rough like gravel. "Ain't your fault." He nodded once, definitive, like he was hammering down a nail. "Ain't never been your fault." I stared at my plate, gravy pooling around the meatloaf, turning the potatoes into islands. A tear slipped down my cheek, then another, splashing onto the tablecloth. I'd spent years blaming myself, thinking I must have done something terrible to make them leave me like that. Maybe I'd cried too much, asked for too many things, hadn't been quiet enough on long drives. But looking at Hank and June, these two people who'd taken in a dusty abandoned child without a second thought, who'd never once made me feel like a burden, something inside me shifted. A crack in the foundation of my guilt, letting in a sliver of light. That night, after the dishes were done and June had gone to bed, I sat on the porch steps watching lightning flicker on the horizon. Hank came out, settling his creaking bones beside me. He didn't speak for a long time, just rolled a cigarette between his fingers without lighting it. "Your folks," he finally said, "they had their own demons. Saw it the few times they came into the garage. Your dad's eyes, always darting around like he owed somebody. Your mom, jumpy as a cat," he sighed, the sound merging with the chorus of cicadas. "Some people, they just can't outrun themselves. No matter how far they go." He patted my knee awkwardly. "Don't make it right. Just makes it what it is." We sat there as the storm rolled in, the air thick with electricity and unspoken truths. For the first time, I began to consider that maybe, just maybe, the broken piece wasn't me. And that understanding, fragile as a butterfly's wing, felt like the beginning of something I couldn't yet name. They couldn't fix my past, but maybe I could build something from it. That fall, I joined the school newspaper. Mrs. Larson pushed me, said I could interview better than anyone. I'd sit with kids in the cafeteria asking about their lives over soggy fries and they'd open up. I wrote about the football team's losing streak, the janitor who'd worked there 30 years, little stories that made folks feel seen. People started saying hi in the halls and I'd nod back surprised. It wasn't friendship, not really, but it was something. I kept my distance though. Trust was a rickety bridge I wasn't ready to cross. Hank got me a beat-up typewriter for my birthday, the keys sticking. "Found it at a junk sale," he said, proud. I'd type late, the clack echoing in the trailer, June snoring through the thin walls. I wrote about the kids at the garage, how Tommy's dad drank too much, how Lisa ran away but came back. I didn't know it then, but I was figuring out how to listen, how to hold space for hurt. Mrs. Larson read one piece and said, "Ethan, you could be a counselor. Help folks for real." I laughed it off, but the idea lodged deep. Senior year, I buckled down straight A's, a stack of college brochures on my desk. Hank and June sat me down one night, their faces serious. "We ain't got much," Hank said, "but we'll help however we can." June nodded, her hands folded. "You're going places, Ethan." I applied for scholarships, my essays raw about the bus stop, the waiting, the way I turned it into fuel. When the acceptance letter came from UT Austin psychology program, full ride, I cried in the bathroom so they wouldn't see. Hank clapped my shoulder. June baked a cake yellow with too much frosting. "Proud of you," they said, and I felt it warm and real, but the dreams didn't stop. I'd wake up 17 now, seeing Mom's hazel eyes flicker, Dad's shadow in the truck's cab. I'd sit by the window, the trailer creaking in the wind, and wonder where they were. Did they ever think of me? I push it down, focus on what was ahead: college, a chance to help kids like the ones at the garage. Hank's words echoed. Some folks break what they can't fix. Maybe they couldn't fix me in their story, but I was writing my own now, one word at a time. At 23, I was out of college, diploma in hand, and working at a youth center in Austin. The place was a concrete box, fluorescent lights buzzing, but it felt alive with kids, runaways, foster teens, ones with bruises they wouldn't explain. I'd sit with them in a chipped folding chair, a styrofoam cup of coffee going cold between my palms, and listen. Really listen, not just to their words, but to the spaces between them, the things they couldn't say. I'd learned that sometimes the heaviest truths hide in silence. The center was always too hot in summer, too cold in winter. The fluorescent lights buzzed overhead like angry wasps, casting everyone in a sickly pallor. But it was a sanctuary of sorts, a place where broken stories could be told without judgment. My stepdad's a jerk, one might mutter, picking at a hoodie string, eyes fixed on the scuffed linoleum floor. The words simple but loaded with a universe of hurt. Bruises hidden under long sleeves in summer. Flinching at sudden movements. Sleep-deprived eyes. I'd nod, quiet, letting them unravel at their own pace. No pushing, no prying, just holding space for their pain like someone once held it for mine. Sometimes they'd talk for hours, their stories pouring out like water from a broken dam. Other times they'd just sit, the silence between us comfortable, almost holy. I'd offer them the dignity of being seen, of having their suffering witnessed without being told to get over it or look on the bright side. How'd you end up doing this? A tough kid named Darius asked me once, his dark eyes narrowed with suspicion. He had 3 teardrops tattooed beside his left eye, hair shaved on one side. You don't look like you've had it rough. That made me smile, just a little. Appearances, the great deceiver. We all wear our wounds differently.